Hello and welcome back to the channel, and no luck catching them swans then?
It's just the one swan actually.
Indeed, this beer is called Hot Fuzz, and I could not resist putting in a very bad reference to the Hot Fuzz film. Now, interestingly, I bought this beer in Scotland, although it's not Scottish. I just found it in a supermarket there and thought it looked interesting. It's from Wilde Child, and it is a raspberry cream donut pale. It's 5.6%. It's called Hot Fuzz, presumably due to the donut element. There was no donuts in the actual Hot Fuzz film, but anyway, we like the take. We like the take. Fair to say it's quite an interesting concept for a beer. How's it going to go? Well, I've had a few custardy kind of pales before, which I guess this is going to be similar. I'm fairly confident this is going to be a lactose beer. And I've heard a few people online say this is actually pretty good, so let's hope it lives up to expectations. I've not watched any full reviews, so I don't really know what it's like. But yeah, let's get into it. So here is a quick look at the can. Bit lively on opening. I don't want to alarm anyone, but that's 2 reasonable pours in a row. Now, I'm going to talk about appearance first, but it's impossible to ignore the aroma that's filled the room. It smells like a sweet shop in here. Kind of raspberry, strawberry bonbons, just everything, you know, the whole works, but we'll get into that in a second. First, appearance in the glass. It's nice and orange, actually. It's got a, again, as always, it's slightly lighter than it looks to you, but I'm looking at it into the light. I guess that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of about there. Definitely a dark amber beer. The head is quite large bubble, so it's probably going to dissipate pretty quickly. It looks a little thin, but it's only a pale, so that's probably okay. Yeah, lots of carbonation in the glass. Reasonable clarity. Bit of haze to it, but nothing too crazy. Right, aroma time. Wow. I'm getting like all manner of confectionery sweets, I'll be honest. I mean, it is predominantly raspberry, but it's like a bit of refresher bar in there, and then there's some more old school stuff like proper hard boiled sweets, like a bit of wine gum. Like, it smells like a sweet shop. That's really all that's coming through. There is a creamy, milky quality to it, so absolutely convinced that this is a lactose beer now. If I'm wrong, then I will look a fool, but fairly confident. It's just packing a big fruit punch, that really is. Fruit punch, literally. The other sweet that it definitely does smell like is fruit salad sweets as well, really similar to that. So if you're nostalgic for any of that sort of stuff, at least on the aroma front, this has got you covered. Right, let's get into it. Cheers. Ooh, 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 ooh. It is sweet, but my, is there some complexity to that? I'm surprised. I've not had anything from Wilde Child before. I've got one more of their cans in the fridge behind me of a different beer, but I've never actually tasted anything yet, and that is a big surprise. I didn't know what to think. Both of the beers I've got from them are very sweet, very off the cuff. I think the other one's like a chocolate brownie stout or something. Ultimately things that could be executed a bit, I don't know, for the sake of the gimmick almost, but it's not. This is genuinely very appetizing. It is quite sweet. It's probably a 1 can and done job, but there's some real promise to this. So, top to bottom taste test. Initially, both a bit sweet and bitter on the front of the tongue. Bit of mild carbonation. Second phase, the raspberries immediately in. Big raspberry flavours. Tastes a bit like a fruit salad, as did the aroma. It's really big on that. But it's not overpowering. It's still not too sweet at that point. It's not sickly. Just a lot of that flavour with the refreshing nature of a pale ale. Next, you get the big splash, traditional kind of point in the beer. It's just more of the same, really. You're not getting anything else other than that fruit flavour at that point. It just becomes more refreshing, more juicy, you know what I mean. And then, slightly drying on the swallow, and then it goes very clean. It's like it's only fruit, but then here it comes. There's a delayed aftertaste of this, which is vanilla, creamy, almost a bit, you know, the top of a creme brulee when they do the fire thing with the sugar. It's got a lot of that in there, which really is quite exceptional. And somewhere in the middle of all that as well, there's a doughy, bready quality, weirdly. The malt's coming through like some bready German lagers, and it's really filling that out with that kind of, that idea of a baked good with the sweetness and the bread. That really is ticking all the boxes, I have to say. I'm very impressed. Let's take a look at the can. So, Wilde Child Brewing Co. Hot Fuzz Raspberry Cream Doughnut Pale, 5.6%. It goes on to say, so, you like your sweet treats, but you don't want to be seen as the stereotypical donut munching cop procrastinating the day away eating sweet treats, rather than the catching the bad guys. This beer is brewed using aromatic biscuit malt, lactose, and raspberry concentrate to ensure you're seen as a good cop, not a bad cop. Interesting that it's concentrate, but I guess it's so strong it kind of had to be. It says, our story. Wilde Child Brewing Co. is the brainchild of Keir McAllister Wilde and was born out of a Leeds-based garage in 2016. In a market saturated by lower strength blonde ales, he decided to launch the company with 3 super strong beers with the aim of grabbing people's attention. Needless to say, it worked. Just under 2 years later, he transitioned away from his one-man operation in the garage into an industrial premises. We now work with customers all over the UK, and we're also branching into Europe. Our aim is to produce big and bold beers that provoke you into thinking about what you're consuming and take you on a journey based around extreme flavour. They are nailing that hypothesis, I have to say. This is batch 501. It's best before the 25th of May next year, so very fresh. Interestingly, it's got a bit of a chart for not just bitterness, which is 18 IBUs, which is entirely believable. There's a tiny bit of bitterness up front, but it's really not aggressive. So 18, totally believable. Colour, it says 16 EBC. I'm not actually that familiar with the colour charting for beer. Most people don't list it, so this is 16, whatever that means. But it's a mid shade of beer, I think it's fair to say. Ingredients are water, malted barley, wheat, oats, lactose, hops, yeast and flavouring. I have to say, I thought it was going to be thin in the glass, but then it didn't really register when I drank it. Although it's thin, because of all the wheat, oats, lactose, it really holds, even though the base isn't actually super thick, which is very nice. It's a 440ml can, 2.5 UK units, and that is all that's on it. I am absolutely pleasantly surprised by this beer. There are a few occasions where people do something different with a pale ale and I go, that's what I want pales to be, and this is one of those moments. This is an extreme variant. It doesn't need to be as insanely fruity, quite so rich on the vanilla and the creamy element, but I tell you what, I said earlier this is a one can and done job, and I'm not actually all that convinced. I reckon you could probably have a few of these. Certainly on tap, I think they'd go down very, very well. I'm a big fan, as you can tell. This is almost really stout in pales clothing, as a lot of these sweeter ones tend to be, but I've got no problem with that. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. So, and that really is all I have to say. So definitely check it out, and now I can't wait to get into the next one. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribed if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.